These mysteries from around the world are bizarre and with no explanation. The only thing you can do to solve these mysteries is use your imagination to fill in the gaps. From insane artwork heists to creepy letters received just before moving houses, these mysteries are still to be solved. The Watcher House. In June 2014, Maria and Derek Broaddus and their 3 young children were getting ready to move into their new home, 657 Boulevard in Westfield, New Jersey. They claimed the 6-bedroom house was their dream home and located just a couple of blocks away from Maria's childhood home in one of the top 30th safest cities in the United States. 3 days after closing the sale, before the Broaddus family had even begun to move in, a letter arrived in their new mailbox. The letter was addressed to the new owner in big, clunky handwriting. The typed letter read as follows. Dearest new neighbor at 657 Boulevard, allow me to welcome you to the neighborhood. How did you end up here? Did 657 Boulevard call to you with its force within? 657 Boulevard has been the subject of my family for decades now, and as it approaches its 110th birthday, I have been put in charge of watching and waiting for its second coming. My grandfather watched the house in the 1920s, and my father watched in the 1960s. It is now my time. Who am I? There are hundreds and hundreds of cars that drive by 657 Boulevard each day. Maybe I am in one. Look at all the windows you can see from 657 Boulevard. Maybe I am in one. Look out any of the many windows in 657 Boulevard at all the people who stroll by each day. Maybe I am one. The letter also mentioned specifics about the Broaddus family. You have children. I have seen them, the letter continued. So far, I think there are 3 that I have counted. Do you need to fill the house with the young blood I requested? Better for me. Was your old house too small for the growing family? Or was it greed to bring me your children? Once I know their names, I will call them and draw them to me. At the bottom of the letter, the author used a cursive font to sign, The Watcher. After receiving the letter, the Broaddus family reached out to the previous family who had sold them the house, John and Andrea Woods. They stated that during the 23 years of living at 657 Boulevard, they had never received a letter like that, except once a few days before they were getting ready to move out of the house. The Woods family also stated they had never felt watched in the 2 decades they had lived at the house and, in fact, rarely felt the need to lock their door at night. While they thought the note they received was odd, they threw the note away without much concern. Still, the 2 families went to the police with the letter and an investigation was opened. The police warned the families not to tell anyone about the letters, including their neighbors who were now all suspects. 2 weeks later, even though the Broaddus family still hadn't moved in, they received a second letter with even more chilling specifics about the family, including the children's birth order and nicknames. The Watcher also asked, will the children sleep in the attic? Or will you all sleep on the 2nd floor? Who has the bedrooms facing the street? I will know as soon as you move in. It will help me to know who is in which bedroom. Then, I can plan better. Several weeks later, the Broaddus family had put their plans on hold to move in. A third letter arrived saying, where have you gone to? 657 Boulevard is missing you. By the end of 2014, the case had stalled. There was no digital trail, and the mental effects were taking a toll on the Broaddus family. There were no fingerprints, and no way to place somebody at the scene of the crime. Only 6 months after they received the letters, they decided to sell the home. 657 Boulevard has been sold and is currently off the market while the Watcher's identity still remains a mystery. The Gardner Museum Heist. On March 18, 1990, the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum in Boston fell victim to one of the greatest art thefts in history. Only 13 pieces of art were stolen, but the combined value of all those paintings was worth over $500 million. On the night of the heist, 2 inexperienced guards were on duty. One of them was named Richard E. Abbott, who was a music school dropout and part of a rock band. By his own admission, he confessed that he would come to work drunk or stoned after a performance. Still, he insisted he was sober the night of the robbery. At 12:54 a.m., a fire alarm went off on the 3rd floor of the museum. When Abbott went to go investigate, there was no fire. Whether this was part of the thieves' scheme is unknown. At 1:24 a.m., 2 men dressed as Boston police buzzed the security desk where Abbott was stationed. The men said that they were responding to a disturbance call and demanded entry. St. Patrick's Day parties were happening around the city, so the disturbance call made sense to Abbott. The guard buzzed the men into the employee entrance, which violated museum protocol. Then, when the men reached a bath behind the desk, one of them said, "You look familiar. I think we have a default warrant out for you. Come out here and show us some identification." Abbott was tricked to leave his control desk, which had the only button that would trigger a silent alarm. He was then instructed to face the wall and was handcuffed. The second guard then appeared and he was also arrested. When the second guard asked why he was being arrested, one of the men replied, "You're not being arrested. This is a robbery. Don't give us any problems and you won't get hurt." An hour and 21 minutes later, the thieves made out with 13 timeless works of art. They cut Rembrandt's Christ in the Storm on the Sea of Galilee and A Lady and Gentleman in Black from their frames, removed Vermeer's The Concert and Flink's Landscape with an obelisk from their frames, pulled an ancient Chinese bronze gu, or beaker, from a table, and took a small self-portrait etching by Rembrandt from the side of a chest. In the museum today, empty frames now stand where the paintings were hung as a remembrance. The thieves have yet to be caught, and the location of the art pieces is still unknown. The Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum has set a $10 million reward for information leading to the recovery of the stolen works. The Ghost Ship of the Mary Celeste. On December 4th, 1872, a British-American ship called the Mary Celeste was found abandoned and floating in the Atlantic Ocean. It was found to be perfectly seaworthy and with its cargo fully intact, except for a lifeboat, which it appeared had been boarded in an orderly fashion. But why? We may never know because no one on board was ever heard from again. The Mary Celeste set sail from New York bound for Genoa, Italy, in November 1872. The ship was manned by Captain Benjamin Briggs and 7 crew members, including Briggs's wife and their 2-year-old daughter. Supplies on board were set to last for 6 months, and there were luxurious items on board including a sewing machine and an upright piano. Historians and commentators generally agree that to abandon such a worthy ship, some extraordinary and alarming circumstances must have arisen. However, the last entry on the ship's daily log reveals nothing unusual, and inside the ship, all appeared to be in order. Conspiracy theories over the years have included mutiny, pirate attack, and even a giant octopus or sea monster attack. However, the cause behind this ghost ship remains unsolved. These are all the mysteries for today. If you enjoyed this video, please leave it a thumbs up and subscribe for more content.